Yeah, this is a rough one, man. In talking about Detroit Red Wings of yesteryear, yesterday we had spoken about the Danny DeKeyser situation and how he is actually going to court with a company that was supposed to owe him a lot of money for insurance. Yeah, that was a conversation we had had yesterday, but also in today's edition of the show, what I wanted to do was visit yet another set of comments made. Or not even comments, yeah, the DeKeyser thing was not comments, but it was just a situation. Let's go over to former Red Wings goaltender Jimmy Howard and some recent comments that he had made on the latest edition of the Cam Strick Podcast. Now, of course, we can all recognize that Jimmy Howard was a long-time Detroit Red Wing, making his debut with the team back in 2005-2006, and sticking with the Wings until the 2019-20 season. The guy was here. Okay, I say here. I'm in Vancouver. But he was in Motown for a while. And honestly, just the name itself, I think Jimmy Howard, playing out of Detroit. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like Howard certainly did fit the bill for being a Red Wings guy, especially in the heyday years that he had had post Chris Osgood and around the 2010-2011-ish era of the team. However, Jimmy Howard was not a full-time Detroit Red Wings option until around, let's say, 2009-ish. And on the recent edition of the Cam Strick Podcast, you had Howard going out there and making some comments about former Detroit Red Wings head coach at the time, Mike Babcock. This clip will be posted into the description if you want to listen to it yourself, but it turns out that Mike Babcock, quote-unquote, voted against his own goalie to win the Rookie of the Year. The entire clip by Jimmy Howard and the comments that he made, it's 52 seconds long, so it is quite a doozy, but essentially Jimmy Howard goes out there and talks about Mike Babcock in a way that I think shouldn't really be too surprising to anybody, knowing what we know now about Mike Babcock, and heck, even knowing what we had known for years about Mike Babcock. Let alone all the stuff with Toronto that happened with him forcing Mitch Marner to rank his teammates in terms of work ethic and then sharing that out with the team. All the stuff with Johan Franzen, that was a really big deal. And then, of course, the Columbus stint that Mike Babcock had where he was getting all the players to show him their smartphones. But Jimmy Howard goes out there and talks about Babcock in these comments. I'll try to read along what it is that Howard says, but it is a 52-second clip, so it isn't really the easiest thing to digest. Howard opens up the clip by talking about how once in a while he would see Mike Babcock, and Babcock would ask him, "Hey, you played some dodgeball last night, eh, Howie?" And I'm like, yep, couldn't get hit by that, sorry, Babs. And honestly, opening up everything with that, I could understand, okay, yeah, locker room talk, with the boys talk. If anybody doesn't understand what that means, oh, hey, Jimmy Howard, you're the goaltender, right? You were playing dodgeball yesterday, right? Dodging the puck left, right, and center. You couldn't get hit by it, man, right? You couldn't do your job right? That's kind of like the idea. It's, of course, just kind of poking fun, lighthearted, whatever conversation. It's big, manly sports guy locker room talk, right? And Howard is kind of a good sport, too, to reply saying, yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't really get hit by the puck. But then he says that the only time that he thinks he really got pissed off at the situation was when, in his words, he got put up for the Rookie of the Year. Howard says that Mike Babcock did a media scrum right in front of him right before the first round of the playoffs, and right in front of all the media people, right in front of all the Detroit players, Babcock was like, "My vote is for Tyler Myers." And Jimmy Howard at that point was like, that's nice. Great. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Of course, all the media people, they turn their attention, they come over to me, and I'm like, hey, unfortunately, Mike Babcock doesn't have a vote in the race, so there's that. And I wanted to talk about this, firstly, because when it comes to Jimmy Howard in particular, in that 09-10 season where he was a rookie, he was pretty good. I mean, .226 goals against average and a .924 save percentage in 63 games played. There's no wonder Jimmy Howard was up for the Calder. He was great that year. Now, for Tyler Myers to end up winning the actual trophy in 09-10, I mean, he in his own right had a great season as well. He was a 48-point guy on the back end. His best ever season, by the way. Tyler Myers has never had a more productive season than the rookie campaign that he had. He was a big dude. I mean, he's still the tallest player in the NHL today, I'm pretty sure. So around that time when he was scoring points, I mean, what's not to like about this guy, right? But for Mike Babcock, the player that was giving Jimmy Howard 60-plus games on the year, who saw Jimmy Howard win 37 games on the year, to go out there into the media and say straight up, yeah, I'm going to vote for Tyler Myers. I'm not voting for my own guy. That certainly sets a great message as to what the coach's feelings are towards the players that he coaches, right? I mean, come on. We see coaches go out there and gas up their players all the time in the media. Hey, our guy does this really well. He does that. We rely on him. He's a useful player. He's all that. So for Babcock to not even have the vote of confidence to give his own player props in the media heading into the playoffs and say that he'd rather vote for somebody else for Rookie of the Year, it does kind of get a little bit infuriating there. And honestly, when you think about Jimmy Howard and the profile that he had in that 2009-2010 playoff season, I mean, in the postseason, Howard had 10 games played, a .924 save percentage, by the way, so he was still good. I mean, what? Mike Babcock, you didn't see enough out of the guy that you wanted to give him the Rookie of the Year vote? I guess it makes sense, and also placating at the same time for Jimmy Howard to be like, yeah, I mean, Mike Babcock doesn't have a vote. He's not part of the Professional Writers Hockey Association. He's a coach. He doesn't have a say in who gets the Rookie of the Year voting at that stage, so I mean, there's a little bit of a silver lining here, but at the same time, I think it kind of goes to show more of the perspective and insight that Mike Babcock would typically enforce as a head coach of a hockey team. Some of the replies in this Twitter video, link is in the description by the way, also go out there and describe more of our thoughts. Ian went out there and said this, gosh darn dude, are we ever going to hear about some of the nice stuff that this guy did? Or was he always just an all-round crapbag his entire coaching career? And then there are some replies, some saying that, hey, this is the narrative about Mike Babcock nowadays, so it's easier and honestly a lot more encouraged to share stories like that nowadays. And then there are other replies saying, no, Mike Babcock was just that guy. He was just always that kind of a guy. So it's not really surprising that comments and stories like these come out. Jimmy Howard was a long-tenured Red Wings goalie, a decade plus in the system, and he's talking about how, yeah, I mean, I was not even given the Rookie of the Year consideration from my head coach when he was the guy that gave me all those starts. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Jimmy Howard and the story that was Howard and the Wings. Last time we had a great discussion in the comment section about Danny DeKeyser and his entire career, so I guess now it's Howard's time to shine. Always kind of weird how older Red Wing stories seem to come out around the same time of the year. August, baby. Nothing else is going on in the hockey world. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section about Jimmy Howard and Mike Babcock really not giving his goalie a vote of confidence in the Calder race. And what do you think this means about Babcock as a whole? I mean, it probably means the same thing that we had been saying this entire time, but either way, thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.